there's a lot of anxiety throughout literally just day-to-day life and even simple decisions to make.
Online has truly changed. It's affected the way that we connect with one another.
Having so much access to so much information, of course, it's going to start affecting your mental health.
I think finances is a big thing of why we get mentally exhausted as well.
In high school, I would see on social media all the time, 17-year-old kids driving Bugattis and Maseratis and success kind of felt like I needed to get there at a specific time.
We dream up this fantasy of what life is supposed to look like, and society doesn't help. It's a plus being in the digital age as things are advancing, but we can see that it's starting to cause detriment to our health as well.
Everybody loves posting the highlights, the wins, the smiles, and the success stories. But behind the filters, the captions, and the "I'm fine" responses, a lot of people are silently battling anxiety, burnout, loneliness, depression, and even emotional exhaustion. And the truth is, for many people in Gen Z, "I'm not okay" has become a silent reality nobody wants to admit out loud. Today, we're having an honest conversation about mental health, emotional pressure, and how to protect your peace in a world that never slows down. How's it going, guys? I'm Caleb, and I'm here with my co-host, Allison Williams.
Hello, guys. How are you?
And we got a special guest today, somebody very close, near, and dear to my heart, somebody I can dare even call sister, Alexandra Noel.
Hi, everyone. Thank you guys for having me.
And today we're going to be talking about a little bit of mental health and the struggles that Gen Z have when it comes to navigating it. Let's get right into it. So, studies show Gen Z reports some of the highest levels of anxiety, stress, and loneliness compared to previous age groups, despite being more connected online than ever before. So the real question is, what's actually happening mentally and emotionally to so many young people today? I mean, how did we become the most connected generation online, yet one of the most anxious, emotionally exhausted in real life, simultaneously? Allison, I'm gonna kick it off to you first. What you think?
Honestly, I think online has truly changed. It's changed completely, and it's affected the way that we connect with one another. And it's also affected our mental health a lot because we rely on it for a lot of things. I mean, half of us go on TikTok when we're like, how to do a recipe, how to do this, how to do, a whole bunch of things that it kind of it puts our mind, most of our mind and emotion into it.
Yeah.
That now we're kind of relying on that for our emotional support, and then we get anxiety when we're comparing ourselves to these things. So I really believe that that's one of the biggest things that has been it makes us exhausted in real life. What would you say, Alex?
I'd say it's the access to all of it, right? We have so much more than the generations before us. And having so much access to so much information, of course, it's going to start affecting your mental health and exhaust your emotional health as well. I think that it's a plus being in the digital age as things are advancing, but we can see that it's starting to cause detriment to our health as well.
Very, very, very good points. I will say, especially when it comes to social media, I can definitely say as a man, there are so many different aspects to our life, including, things like success and the things that we should have money-wise and where we should be. And I remember in high school, I would see on social media all the time, there were, 17-year-old kids driving Bugattis and Maseratis and all that different kind of stuff. So it's like, at that time, success kind of felt like I needed to get there at a specific time, and sometimes even prematurely.
Yeah.
And that pressure kind of hit a little bit. I definitely will say that. It kind of felt like I needed to be in a spot that I really had no business being in at the time. Sometimes you think, in high school, you a high schooler. You going to football games, you going to basketball games, and you chilling with your friends, and, homework is in the back of your mind and all that kind of stuff. But what's in the back of my mind was, when am I gonna touch a meal? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if it's like, is it like that for women as well, or is there like a different aspect? Alex, you looking at me? Wow, what we got, bro?
Definitely for women, I think that for us, it can also be success, the career, but to be married, to have
Yeah.
children, to
Yeah.
have your life established before you're like 25. I
Yeah.
mean, I can remember when I was a kid, I'm like, by 23, I'm gonna have a
Yeah.
boyfriend, I'm gonna be married, I'm gonna have my house, and here I am, 27, living with my mama, you know? But I think that we dream up this fantasy of what life is supposed to look
Yeah.
like, and society doesn't help. You know, you put on a TV show, you see these high schoolers, again, living such lavish lifestyles, college and everything, and when life doesn't pan out like that, you think that you failed.
Allie, what do you think?
I think it's also with the previous generation.
Yeah.
I feel like seeing our parents kind of have kids at like 21, 20, 22 and all of that, and like buying a house and doing all this stuff, where now our generation, it's very difficult to buy a house. Like even being like a 2-home income is kind of impossible nowadays to buy a home. I can be an example. I've been trying to buy a house, and whew, let me tell you
The
something.
mortgage rates?
Yeah, it's crazy, and kind of seeing our parents kind of go through that and be like, you know, I was raised in a home where I never missed a meal, where I had a roof over my head, you know, I had all these things, where it's like, and my mom was like 22, now being 27, I'm like, I don't even think I can, like, if I had a baby right now, I don't know if that would be possible for me to do to support the child. And I think that's also why a lot of our generation has pushed back the age of having kids and getting married, because I want to have a fairy tale wedding, and how are we gonna pay that, you know? So I think finances is a big thing of why we get like mentally exhausted as well, because we start trying to see like why the generation was able to succeed so quickly and in age and time, and now we're kind of like, we feel like the time is the clock is ticking, and we're like freaking out now.
Yeah.
So it's the comparison again of what it is to the older generation to now.
I like that. Now, I want to go back to kind of the first part of that question where it kind of says, you know, studies show that Gen Z reports some of the highest levels of anxiety. I can definitely see within my peers, and sometimes even within myself, there's a lot of anxiety throughout literally just day-to-day life and even simple decisions to make.
Yeah.
Right? And I remember I was watching a podcast online, and there was a question that a therapist, she was a guest, that she posed a question. I want to pose a question to you too. Do you think that compared to previous generations, that we're more anxious, or is it that now we're just more aware that anxiety exists and that it's an actual problem? What do y'all think? Alex, what are we thinking?
I would say yes, we are more anxious. I mean, studies even show that our generation is pretty anxious. It's an anxious one. And I think that the generations before, again, the access and the things that they were revealed or they were, you know, being made aware of, it didn't spike such anxious numbers in them, I would say. I think, on contrary, even though we are more anxious, we have more of a thing in us, a desire to want to actually address it and do something about it.
Yeah. I would say I feel like the generation before us had the same level of anxiety. They just held it in a little more. I feel like now we're more open to talking about anxiety.
Yeah.
And sometimes, again, it has to be talked about with the previous generation. Sometimes because they held on to that anxiety and they didn't talk about it or they didn't pray about it or anything, it showed off in different ways. It showed off in anger. It showed off in like complaining and like yelling, you know, like doing all this to us, that now we get anxious and we're trying to break that generational curse of like doing that to our kids. So now we're more talking about it. We're more vocal about how we feel and the anxiety and what those things are going on, so that our next generation doesn't feel like, sometimes our parents were like, on us and things like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like I kind of talk to my mom about that all the time, because I realized that she went through a lot of anxiety as a kid.
Yeah.
And me being like, oh, my mom's supposed to be perfect. Mom's supposed to be that. Now, as an older, as a woman, I'm kind of realizing, like, dang, my mom actually has anxiety as well.
Yeah.
But she wasn't able to talk about it. She didn't have a community around her. She didn't, I guess, maybe in that time, since it wasn't talked about, she didn't even know what anxiety was. So that's why I think now that we're talking about anxiety and it's more vocal and it's more, present in today's society, now we're kind of understanding and getting to the root of what that is and how to fix it.
Yeah.
So I think that's why we're more vocal about it, why it's more talked about. It's because we're trying to break that generational curse. Now we're trying to get to the root of it, to our future generation. We can figure out how we can help them succeed without having to feel and understand that sometimes, yes, we have anxiety. Sometimes we go through things in life where we're kind of thinking like, oh, this test score is this test is gonna kill me, all that stuff, that now we need to learn how to be like, okay, we have the anxiousness, but how do we fix it? How do we not let it get to our mental health where it starts picking at everything else in our lives?
And I like the point of you kind of brought up your mom. Both of you know my mother.
Yeah.
Both of you know my mother. And I personally believe that my mother is superwoman. I mean, that woman, she does amazing things, and she's done amazing things in my life, raising 4 kids, putting them all through college, high school and college. 2 of them are in high school. They're going to college right now, completing a doctorate degree. Shout out, mama. But I started to realize as I got older, wow, she had it sounds bad, but she has emotions too. And she goes through things as well. And she goes through anxiety, and she has moments of weakness. And that's such a weird thing for me, especially as one of her sons, because I'm always taught, especially by her, be strong, one day you're going to have to provide. One day you're going to have to, you have responsibilities in the house. And, she taught me that. And even though I saw that through her, it was still nah, mom could get anything done. You just got to ask.
Yeah.
And it's now I'm noticing wow, no, this is her first time living too.
Yeah.
How do you guys especially with your mothers? I know both of you have close relationships with your mothers. How have you seen that in your own parents? What about you, Alex? Go ahead.
For sure. I would say that my mom, and mom, I love you if you're watching this, but she struggled a lot with putting a name to the mental things that she was going through, the mental disparities, and it showed up in her children.
Yeah.
So growing up, when I was saying, I'm sad or I'm maybe anxious, she was like, okay, that's funny. Go to school now. Let's get ready for school.
Yeah.
So growing up with children like myself and my brother who's on the spectrum for autism, it's revealed to her wow, no, this is actually a thing. And it's something that has to be addressed. And it's even forced her to look inwardly to say, how can I now go and get help for myself? Because growing up in Haitian culture, there's no such thing as depression. There's no such thing as anxiety.
Yeah, that's true.
You just faking it because you don't want to do something, or you're just making excuses. So it's actually amazing to see that in our generation, through myself and my siblings, we're able to now tackle these things and even inspire someone like my mother who might be set in her ways to actually say, no, this is something that's serious.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, honestly, very similar. I think there was something in my life that happened. It was a big, actually, I think it was when I had my first boyfriend and I hid it from her. I hid it from her because, since she was very tough on me, I guess in the same thing in a Latino household, it's very no, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, no crying, no hugs, no it was very weird for me to accept hugs because we didn't do that in a Latino house, in my household. So I had a boyfriend and I kept it from her for a year, and I told everybody else. Everybody my I met his parents, all that stuff, and I kept it from her. And one day I finally told her hey, so I have a boyfriend, it's been a year, this and that. And she started crying, and she's like, why am I the last one to know? Wow. And I was like, Mom, because whenever I talk to you about emotional stuff, you black, like you're like black or white. It's never like, oh, let me hear you out, let me this, let me that. And I'm just like, sometimes I just want my mom, you know, like I want that. And ever since that conversation, she fully like 180'd
Really?
with me. She now, like, I have those emotional conversations with her when there's things about friends that I need like advice in and things like that. Even with her, when I see she's like coming home stressed from work, I'm like, tell me about your day. And she like just lets it out. And then after that, she's like, I'm good. You know, like sometimes she just needed somebody to talk to about it. So that conversation with it, and now she's like my best friend. Now we talk about everything and
that's
anything.
awesome.
But before we move on, I have a question.
What's up?
Before you move forward, you were saying as a man, you
Yeah.
were taught to be super strong and super, you know, like, and I feel like that's how a lot of men were raised.
Yeah.
As a man being like that, how do you guys handle anxiety? Because I feel like a lot of men don't, that topic is very sensitive for men. So I wanted to ask that question because I think it was a very like big, important question and topic that we need to discuss.
Yeah. I can give my experience. I can't necessarily give it a generalization for all men. But I can definitely say there's kind of two sides to it. So there's kind of the spiritual side and the secular side.
Okay.
I would say before I really decided to get serious with God, anxiety was one of those things that you kind of just keep in a corner and you leave it there.
Yeah.
It was one of those things that when it rose up, it was like, okay, I'm feeling a little anxious about this. I don't really know what to do. You know what? I'm gonna throw it away, and I'm going head first. I'm just gonna go head first because we're taught, you know, don't cower away from things.
Yeah.
We're taught, you know, there's a brick wall in front of you. You got to run straight through that brick wall, no matter what happens. And so we kind of put it in a dark corner, and it kind of piles up until it overfloods, I should say, and explodes. I would say that would be more of the secular side. As far as the spiritual side, oh my goodness. Believe it or not, it's a lot tougher and a lot easier at the same time. Because now it's not like you're dealing with the responsibility of dealing with the anxiety. You're kind of dealing with humbling yourself under God. Because now it's like, okay, it's not that I'm succumbing to my problem. It's, okay, now I have to lower myself, understand that I have a heavenly Father who's there for me, who wants to look out for me, who wants to, you know, have me in his arms. And that's tough sometimes for a man.
Yeah.
To humble himself over somebody that will provide for him. I can definitely say, even as my earthly father, you know, I don't really ask him for much because it's like, I love you, Dad. I appreciate you and you're there for me, but I understand that I'm a man at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it's like, I want to be able to provide for myself. And understanding how to submit yourself under God's will and kind of submit yourself under his plan for you, that's tough, especially as a man of God. But I will say, when you do learn it as a man of God, it is one of like the most greatest tools ever. Because even as men, everyone kind of puts their problems on you, and it seems so unfair at the time because you're dealing with your own things.
Yeah.
But as soon as we give it to God, we'll be like the happiest men on earth. We'll be like little boys. And honestly, it really is the greatest thing. Now, I do want to go to our next section because I do think that it is definitely very important to discuss and talk about. We are, as studies will say, the loneliest generation. That's what they're saying. And even though this generation is more connected digitally than any generation before it, you know, studies show that many Gen Z adults are reporting feeling lonely, isolated, and emotionally disconnected on a regular basis. Now, do you think many people feel lonely and emotionally disconnected because they are constantly trying to maintain an image instead of being honest about who they really are and what they're actually going through? Or do you think there's another contributing factor to their loneliness? Alex, what we got?
I would say it could, it definitely, I think it is because of that. I think that it's very hard to be vulnerable in this day. I mean, vulnerability is hard within itself, but our generation, we're a bit of an emotional one. So, you know, when we go through things, we tend to want to separate. I mean, we even see it in the Christian space where people are saying, or even young adults are saying, we don't need to come to church to have church. We can do it outside of the building. Even just neglecting the values and the foundations that our elders put in place before is the Bible put in place, trying to rename and reshape things, which isn't necessarily a bad thing within itself, but it definitely is something that will eventually over time have a huge impact in a negative way for us, because we're losing sight of what really unites us as a people and the importance of being together and being in community because of things like church hurt, because of past traumas that haven't been addressed, and because of things that are really driving a wedge between one another. And social media doesn't help. We always see things that are a bit toxic and entertaining, and we take that on as actual morals and values for us to live out, instead of saying, maybe there's a different way. Maybe this isn't the way to live. It's a number of things, but I would say social media is one of the hugest things that is making us extremely lonely. And it's comforting to be alone on social media instead of going out and finding people, because, on your phone, people can't really hurt you, can they?
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Allie, what do we think?
Yeah, I would piggyback off of that. I think it's like having surface level friendships.
Yeah.
I think we don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to share those hard moments of our lives. And sometimes those are the best conversations to have, is when you get deep. I've had friendships where they're very surface level, where it's like we talk about this, we talk about that, and then it's like it gets silent and we're bored because it's like the most minimal conversations that we have. But then when I finally share a little piece of myself or something, I realize a lot of people go through the same thing, the exact same thing, the anxiousness, the overthinking, the stress of work, the stress of bills, the stress of, like, we go through the same thing, but we never talk about it because we don't get into those deeper conversations or friendships. And I think when you get into those conversations, like, it flows. Like, the conversation keeps going and you ask questions, and there's things that you, in mid-conversation, you realize you're like, oh, that's how you healed from that. Maybe that's how I need to, like, oh, what tool do you use to help your mental health? What do you, like, maybe I need to do that, whether it's meditating, whether it's reading the Bible, whether it's praying, whether it's whatever the case may be. Like, it could be also, like, those moments where you need to just, like, take a rest because your mind is always like, da-da-da-da-da. You need to just take a breath and do something. For me, I found out, like, reading. I love reading books. I love running now. I've been doing, like, this really cool, like, 10K steps a day. So it has been, it's been crazy. I've been doing it, but, like, even exercise, I've seen studies show that exercising helps your mental health so much. And, like, doing it with a friend, it's amazing. It's great. So I think, like, pushing that, like, that line of just not having surface level friendships. I think you need to like push beyond that and open up. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to open up, because sometimes that one little, like, conversation sparks a lot of other conversations. And what if that person in front of you needed to have that conversation to stop them from doing something they regret?
Understandable.
Yeah.
Understandable. Now, I do want to pose this question to both of y'all. What would you guys say to any of our peers that may be watching online, where their entire life they've been doing this on their own? I mean, they've been supplying for themselves, they've been working with them for themselves, they've been doing this walk of Christianity by themselves, and for right now or for a time, they seemed fine.
Yeah.
And it was like, yo, I'm doing it, it's all me, I'm pushing it by myself. What would y'all say would be important to either look out for, or what should they strive to do? What would you say to them?
Well, I'd say there's like two sides of the coin, right?
Yeah.
You said that if they're saying they're doing fine, and things have been working out for them doing it independently, I'd ask them, then what about other people who might need to also learn from you? I mean, if you are doing this life thing, which I find a little bit hard to believe, so well by yourself, I think that you may have been taking the more selfish approach, if I can say that, and just keeping all of that to yourself, and also thinking that you are the only person that needs to be maintained, taken care of, and walking this life is all about you. I just ask them that. On the other side, if there's somebody who has been doing it, I'd ask them if it's been going well for them, which I can imagine maybe not. And also knowing that the power in what it means to be in community, even knowing if they're a Christian, God didn't do it by himself, right? he's a communal God, right? And just knowing that his design, his perfect design, was never supposed to be just one person by themselves doing it. So I think that we also have to just look within and understand what it really means to come in and be powerful in numbers and do this life together with one another. I think that it's easy to do it by yourself.
Yeah.
It can be comforting at times, but think about the moments where you really need someone. Like when you're going through, I mean, who's there? Like, who do you reach out to when you need a laugh, when you need to go on a walk?
Yeah.
You know, just thinking about those things, I can't even imagine, because I was like that. I mean, I was all about my money. I was like, I just want to get my money and
Check.
that's it.
Mayans.
But when life hit me hard and then I got evicted and I lost my job, I could not imagine not doing it with somebody who God actually sent alongside me to do that with. Because life is going to happen.
Yeah.
Who do you reach out to?
Who's in your corner?
Who's in your
Yeah.
corner?
Who's in your corner?
Yeah.
You taught me that.
Yeah.
Who's in your corner?
Who's in your corner?
Allie, what you think?
Honestly, Alex, you said it. Everything that I wanted to say, it's just like, who's in your corner? It's kind of something that I've said before. We go through life. Everything in life is with the person, with as a team, as a community, everything. You may not notice it, like, this team, right here, we're the cameraman, the production team, we're not able to do anything without extra community, with extra hands, with extra people to support you. That's what builds an amazing thing. That's what makes you level up, and that's what God wants. It's just community.
Got you. Community, community, community.
Yeah.
And that segues us perfectly into the next section. I appreciate that. Yeah. All right. So, the most connected yet most disconnected. Studies show many Gen Z users spend several hours a day on social media, and many admit it negatively affects their confidence, focus, sleep, and emotional well-being. The question is, has social media become one of the biggest attacks against this generation's peace? So, we can all agree that social media isn't all bad, right? We can use it as tools, marketing, connection, being with each other. And it's become a place where people are learning information. However, people are also losing identity, confidence, and peace all at the same time. What do you guys think about that?
I really think social media, it's good and bad. There's the bad side of it. There's the good side. The good side is that, you reach out to people that's not just in one little circle, not just, down the street from you. It's all over the world. But with that comes a lot of access to many things that may not be the healthiest. And also, the comparison of everything going on. You see people out there that are six-pack and have this and have that, and you're like, I want that, And if you don't get it, then, because I went through that. There was someone that I saw on Instagram that she was selling these products and doing these workout stuff, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna look like that in 6 months, And I didn't get the results, and I started mentally going crazy. I'm like, what's wrong with me? What's all this stuff? Where it's that comparison, and then I get to the overthinking, and then I get to the self-doubt and the depression and all of that, where I had to get to the point where I needed to unfollow half of the people that I followed, because I was like, this is not healthy for my mindset. This is not the way that I need to be doing it, because I would honestly, and even I catch myself till this day where I go to social media to find something instead of looking at the Bible.
Yeah.
And that's very bad, it's very bad. Jeez, forgive me. So it's I catch myself doing it, and sometimes we need to remember that social media was just to to have fun, but now it's kind of getting a little
Got you. Now, Alex, before you answer, I'm gonna switch the question up for you a little bit. So, you started and directed a young adults ministry at the Faith Center. It's called Forward. And from me witnessing it, you kind of started heavily relying on social media to kind of get the word out there. So within ministry, I know sometimes comparison could be a huge thing. When you look at other young adult ministries, either in Florida or across the U.S. and sometimes even in other countries. How was navigating that and not like trying to compare yourself to those ministries? Like, what was that experience like?
That's a great question. So starting off, yes, we were definitely on Instagram a lot. I was running the Instagram page.
Yeah.
I had a slight passion for social media, and I realized very early on how important it was to be grounded in my why and the purpose behind Forward, because it was so easy for me to get swallowed up in all the young adult ministries out there, because I even looked at some of them for, inspiration, ideas, and even just to learn on what they did that worked out so well for them. But I had to really slow down, and God slowed me down as well, because I can tend to jump 10 steps ahead and not wait and go through the process of learning how to get to the places where they are. Because it is very easy for us to try to take shortcuts, because social media is not real. That's like the biggest thing.
Yeah.
It's just a fantasy land that has been painted to only show us the good. Granted, our generation is doing a great job in being real and showing that, the ugly sides of what it is to be Christians or to live this life as a human being.
Yeah.
But I think that it was definitely a constant grounding and going back to, okay, what is the vision that God has given me? And what are the steps that do I have to take to get there? Not the steps that they took.
Yeah.
What do I have to do?
Gotcha.
And also disciplining myself, because doom scrolling, I think that's a universal disease.
Yep.
Listen, and I honestly, there was times where I had to say, okay, I have to take a break, and knowing that even though I might not post for a week or two, and it might mess up the algorithm, knowing that God understands that I need to rest and I need to take a break from this, because it's taking a bigger place in my heart than he is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, I got you. Now, we don't only want to talk about the doom and gloom, and we do want to give our viewers kind of a more hopeful side of things. Allison,
Yes.
this is your segment. Fighting back against anxiety. I hear you have some steps for us to do that.
I do.
Take us through it. Let's run it.
The good news is that this generation is not hopeless. There are particular and spiritual things that we can do to protect our peace, strengthen our minds, and stop silently drowning emotionally. So we have 3 key steps, and within those 3 key steps, we're gonna break it down a little bit more and get into the root of things. So it's, how do we fight back? The first one is how we fight back against anxiety. Second step is how we fight back against loneliness. And third one is how we fight back against social media overload. So scripture shows in Philippians 4:6-7, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. So with that part, I feel like it's saying stop carrying everything mentally by yourself. So anxiety grows when everything stays trapped in your mind. You have to talk to someone trustworthy. It's kind of like what we were saying before. You need to talk to a friend. We've all had very deep conversations and rely on each other. And I feel like that's helped us push through those anxious moments and that we have in our day-to-day lives. And to process your moments instead of suppressing them. I would say a good example was, again, like the thing with my mom, where I needed to realize that she needed to process it. And like with the older generation, sometimes they hold it in a little bit more. And now we need to kind of talk about it. We need to spread it. And I think we're doing very, very good about talking about those things now. The key for that is just because you carry it quietly doesn't mean you're handling it well.
Okay.
Any little thoughts about that? Anything you guys wanna share?
I'll tell you this one thing, and this isn't to scare anybody. This isn't to again the doom and gloom. I don't want to bring it, but I had a lesson from my father, and it's also a biblical lesson as well. He always told me that anything that's done in the dark will show up in the light, and that doesn't only include your actions, but it includes the things that you're dealing with as well. Now I understand, you want to keep some privacy in your life. You don't want to be telling everybody everything you got going on. But sometimes when you are dealing with anxiety, when you are dealing with depression, when you are dealing with, just the emotions in life, keeping it in the dark by yourself and you're the only one who knows, over time that stuff starts to weigh you down. And it really, like, it affects your mental, it affects how you interact with people. I've lost some friendships.
Really?
Even just trying to hide things and pull things back, I kind of found myself decaying a lot. And it wasn't until I started realizing, okay, I'm carrying it well.
Yeah.
I'm keeping it in the dark. I'm showing off, you know, I'm lively and I'm laughing and I'm fun. And maybe people don't see that yet. And it isn't until maybe something could trigger me, or it isn't until, you know, we're out and we're talking about a really sensitive topic where I start to dwindle down a bit. And people really kind of took notice of that. Be like, hey, Caleb, you good? And I really started to realize, I was like, oh my goodness, this is coming into the light.
Yeah.
And at first I fought it. You know, I had a little pride, manly pride, you know, like I was saying before.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until, like I said, I submitted it to God and I was like, God, what do you want me to do with this? And he was like, I need you to go talk to this person. This person's going to help you out. And it wasn't until that I did that I really found myself comfortable, especially in public spaces and even sometimes by myself. I was able to breathe. I was able to just chill out a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Because I gave my issues and my problems to God.
That's good. That's good. The next step in that we can go ahead on fighting back against anxiety is we got to slow down and create a rest. Consistent stimulation keeps your mind in survival mode. Rest is necessary, and learn to disconnect and breathe. Take those times, relax, you know, take a little bit of time for yourself, meditate, read the Bible, whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
The third one is replace panic with prayer and perspective. Prayer calms the mind. Gratitude shifts perspective. And stop feeding fearful thoughts through consistently. The next one would be fighting back against loneliness. We have to practical ways to fight loneliness is we have to build real community. Online interactions is not the same as emotional connections. We have to find safe, genuine relationships and stop isolating yourself when struggling. The second key point with that one would be learning to be honest about what you're feeling. Many people feel lonely because they're constantly pretending. Vulnerability creates real connection, and we have to stop trying to appear like we're okay all the time. Sometimes that's very dangerous when you're saying you're okay, you're fine, and it's really not that, you know? And then the third one would be stop waiting for people to reach out first. Sometimes you have to be the one to open those conversations. Sometimes you have to, you know, hit up a friend to be like, hey, I know we've had this conversation a couple weeks ago. How are you doing now? How is everything working for you? You have to also build intentional relationships with that. And then how fighting back against social media overload. Scripture shows in Proverbs 4:23, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flow from it. So we have to be careful what you constantly consume. What you watch affects your emotions, thoughts, confidence, and peace. We have to stop feeding your mind negative things all day. Second point would be stop comparing your real life to everyone else's highlights. Social media often shows edits, and it edits reality. Comparison destroys confidence and peace, and we have to focus on our own journey. And the third and last key would be create boundaries with social media. You have to take breaks, you know, fast from social media. I know a lot of us have done this on this table. We've taken a couple of fasts from it. We have to protect our attention span, and also don't allow social media to control your mood or your identity. Just because something is normal doesn't mean it's healthy. And with that, Caleb.
So, this was a great discussion. Alex, again, thank you for joining us. Gave us a lot of good insight. Allie, you as well.
Thank you.
And I just kind of want to wrap it up by just kind of giving an overall view. You know, the truth is a lot of people are silently struggling right now with anxiety, loneliness, emotional pressure, and mental exhaustion. And that's a conversation we can't afford to ignore anymore. But no matter what you may be facing mentally or emotionally, just know you are not alone. There's help available, and there is still hope for you. Until next time, protect your peace, take care of your mental health, and continue becoming the best version of yourself.